there.
Hi, everyone.
So today we're going to do a transaction desk class, and we're going to focus on a buy side. And we're going to walk you through from your templates to make sure you have your template set up, to then going into MLS and acting like you just came out from showing a house, and now you have to write an offer, and how you will import the MLS into transaction desk and write up the contract using your template. We're not going to go into signing. We don't have enough time for that, but we will go through quite a bit. If you have questions, you can write a question, and Susan will be interrupting and letting us know the questions that when they're happening. And she might write back privately, or she might just talk about them out loud. So we are going to go from here. If you have not logged into Transaction Desk, first I need you to do that. And if you go to AAR Online, that's why I opened this screen here. If you can see, let me make it a little wider. There you go. So if you're on AAR Online, Transaction Desk is right here. If you didn't log in already, you can go to your SSO dashboard. So I'm going to click here. And it's going to take a second. And you'll see your dashboard, and Transaction Desk is here. So you can click through here to get to it. And then you'll have your sign-on page. You'll need your NERDS number. And if this is not your first time, then you probably already know your password. So it's thinking. Let me close some of these. And it's still thinking. Give it a second here. Okay, so if you're all in your transaction desk, first your dashboard might look different than mine, and that's okay. We actually will go over that in a different webinar. But we're going to focus on getting right into it, and the icons over here are pretty general. These are like your file cabinet. And then later on, we'll talk about some icons that are going to be on your right-hand side. So go down to your wheels, and that's called Setup. And click there, and we're going to open it up, and you're going to see some options here. A little delayed. As we're waiting, you know, at 3 o'clock today, the Luke Air Force Base, we look up in the sky, 3 o'clock, 3:10, they're going to go off. I think there's 12 jets are flying over all of Phoenix. So now we're at transaction. We're in the settings, and we're going to focus on transaction templates right here. When I click here, we're going to create one, and you'll see I have a bunch in here. You won't have anything here yet. So to create one, you would hit add. Okay, when I click add, you're going to name it. Now this is for you and how you do your business. So most agents are going to, we're going to focus on a buyer today. So I'm simply going to write in buyer. And then I'm going to pick a residential purchase because I'm working with a buyer. But you can see all these options here. Okay, so that's simple what it is. And I'm going to put today's date just so I know, since I have so many in here. And I'll put in, it is May 1st. So I know that this was today's template. Once you have that open, now you've created this buyer template, and you're going to scroll down, and you'll see all these options: checklists, contacts, documents, forms, teams, and sharing. Checklists is more advanced, and you can add checklists and make this more of a transaction management program if you want. We're not going to focus here today. Again, we're going to focus on setting up a buyer template and then going into MLS and writing up a contract. So going into contacts, I wouldn't really put anyone in here yet, unless maybe I'm working with a buyer who's going to, I know they have, you know, $10 billion, and they want to buy 20 homes this year and I'm going to be writing up a lot of contracts with them, I may want to put them in here so I don't have to put them in later. But for right now, in this basic buyer template, I'm not going to put anything in my contacts. This is a template. Documents and folders would be foreign forms. So documents and forms, and we're going to repeat this a lot. Documents are something that you created, or maybe it's a broker form. I don't know what that is. So documents are going to be maybe like if you're a West USA agent, you have an A100 and you're going to put it in here. Okay, it's a form that's not created through AAR. The forms is where we're going to actually add our forms. Forms are from AAR. They're your contract, your addendums, your purchase contract, your agency, all that. So let me move. I have some things to move around on my screen. Okay, so anytime you're in this program, the plus button is always adding. So we're going to add forms, and I'm going to move that widget up. So now you can see there's the different libraries here, and depending on what association you're with, you may have different libraries here. So just like if you were used to zip forms, you're just going to be adding and finding forms. What's really cool is I can use a search thing and just type in, like, I want to find agency. So I type in agency, and then I can find, oh, here's the one I'm looking for. I'm working with a buyer. So I'm going to select that one. And you can see it got added to my basket. Now I want to put in a purchase contract. Oop. And let's see what comes up. Okay, I've got commercial. Here's the residential one. So I'm going to click that. Now you see my basket starting to fill up. So once you find all the forms you need that you think would be good for a purchase, agency, purchase contract, maybe it's an HOA, you might want to put a prequel in there to remind you to get that from the lender, but you really are going to get that from the lender. So now we're going to hit add. And I just picked a couple just for purposes of seeing this. So now you have your template started to be processed. I'm going to jump into one I already have created and let you see all the forms that I think should be in there, and let you just look for a second at the screen. And if you want to ask later after class for these items or screenshots or checklists or whatnot, we have those and we can give those to you after the class. So I'm going to quickly get out of this for a second, go back here. So this is one I just created. I'm going to show you this one that I already have created. Again, it was a buyer purchase contract. And I'm going to go down to forms. And now you'll see one that has a full ready to go template. I have a critical date list, agency, contract, HOA. I think on a template, I would put a lead-based paint in because I can always delete it out later. So this is to remind me, do I need this or do I not need it? Buyer advisory, again, pre-qual form is to remind me, do I need this from the lender? Wire fraud advisory, the buyer inspection seller response notice, you can already put that in a template, and closing walkthrough. So these are things on the buy side I would have. So I'm just going to leave the screen up for a second so you guys can see that. Now, again, if you want, I don't know how many of you caught that, but again, if you wanted to, oh, I forgot to add a form, hit plus, you go find the form, and maybe in this one, there's on-site water treatment. Oh, that doesn't come up. Let's do,
Maybe it's 2 words.
Water. I'll just put water. There we go. Here it is. So maybe I forgot this one. And I put in, oh, it was hyphenated. So now I can put this one in, and now maybe I work a lot with that sort of property. So now my template has all these forms in it, and it's ready to go. Now, if you're trying to do a template right now, we're going to go through and just keep the process going of how to walk through of, now I have a buyer, because to use transaction desk, setting this up is great. You got to take some time to set up your program. You should set up, if you work with landlord, tenants, seller, buyer, maybe you do commercial, maybe you do land, you could have in your templates, and I'll show you, you could have 20, you could have 5, you could have 2. Look, for sale by owner, land, landlord, known agent name, seller. There's all reasons for these templates. I think if you're doing just kind of basic residential real estate, you're going to have buyer, seller, landlord, tenant. And that's really all you're going to need to be functioning in residential real estate. So now that you have your templates set up, we can go and actually create a file. First, I'm going to go to this home, the little home icon. Are there any questions yet? Anybody have any feedback, anything?
Nope.
No?
I'm watching.
Okay. So you can see if I hit this home button, we have a dashboard of all my files. So again, why I called it a filing cabinet is like this side, is these are all my files in my filing cabinet. And you can look at the screen by going this grid or like a list, and that's just your personal preference. So you can play in here and click on the icons. You're not going to ruin anything. You're not going to, delete and destroy. You can easily click on something and go, okay, now I get it. I prefer this way or that way. Now, if we're doing a brand new file, I would hit add here. And let's say it was a for sale by owner, it wasn't an MLS. I would use this add button here, and then I could create a transaction. For today, we're going to actually go, we're going to act like we walked away. Now we're going to go show some houses, and your buyer says, I really want this one. So I just came back. Okay. Now I'm coming back from showing, and I'm going to leave the screen up, but I'm going to jump into MLS. Okay. So I'm in MLS, and we were showing houses, and this property was the one my buyer wants to see. Okay. Or put an offer in. Let me move people around off my screen. Give me a second. Okay. So now you can see in MLS, most of you are going to be working in MLS first before you go into transaction desk. So you go, okay, I got this property. And if you hit more right here, there's always transaction desk is here. You can also find transaction desk through MLS by going to menu and scroll down, and it's here. If you star it, it will come up here. I have a lot of things starred. So you can see right there. So there's several ways you can get to transaction desk through MLS. So if I'm out showing, come back, here's the MLS, and I'm going to go ahead and hit, and you'll see that there is documents in this one. So here's all the documents that are in here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit more, and then transaction desk. And it's going to take me back to transaction desk and start a new file. Sorry, it's a little slow. And it's still thinking.
Hey, Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
I got 2 questions, one from Lynn Shep and one from Linda Cook, that are very on the same page, talking about sharing templates. Lynn wanted to know if West USA could have templates to share with everyone, and Linda was more just generally saying, how would sharing work in templates?
So if that kind of is a broker question-ish, because in the sharing, there are companies, other brokerages that control their transaction desk a little bit differently. And so if they had, the broker wanted to share templates, they could. I think our philosophy here at West USA is you're more of an independent contractor, and I don't know necessarily what you're going to do. So sharing templates, I can show you examples of what they are and send you what I have in mind, so you get a good, foundation for one. But I really think it's customized to each agent. So sharing them doesn't always make sense, because what if I do residential and I do commercial? So all my templates are kind of personalized to how I work. So I'm not sure if I would necessarily share a template, but I can jump back there real quick and show you within here. I think it's right here. Let me go on to this one. So teams and sharing, if I added, I could actually share a template. So there's another section where if I put in here, I would have all the agents in Arrowhead. So if you share anything in here, it has to be within your branch as well. So Lynn, I believe, is in Kierland, and like you could share with another Kierland agent, but you couldn't share with an Arrowhead agent. So you would, if you wanted to, you could share, but I'm not sure I necessarily would, unless maybe I was a team leader and I'm like, I want all my you know, team members to have the same template as me. But you could, and you basically would just click here and move the arrow over, and then that whole team could see. I just put a generic word team. I don't actually have anybody in there. But you could, at that point, within the templates on the bottom, you could. Anyhow, I hope that answers that. If there's more questions on that, let me know. I'm going to go back to I was in the middle of, so I was at MLS. I hit transaction desk from here. So I was here and I hit transaction desk, and then it opened this window. So this window is going to have now the address, and what it's doing is it's importing all the information, all the data from MLS in. So now I can choose, oh, here's my buyer template. I'm going to click buyer template. When I did that, I want you to notice that it says buyer's agent down here. So if I hit buyer, and actually, I'm going to do this one because I have different templates in there, and this one is the correct one. So this template, buyer, no broker filled out, I did that on purpose. It put me as buyer's agent here and use wizard. If you go through the wizard, it's going to take you through multiple steps. And I personally, I'm not someone who likes the wizard, but I know that it's helpful to others. So I'm going to act like I'm going to use the wizard this time. And I am now the buyer's agent. So I have my buyer template. It's armless. This is the correct MLS address, use wizard, and I'm going to hit create. So this is creating a new file in my file cabinet. And it is so slow. Sorry, guys. I'm going to cut out some of this stuff. I feel like there should be Jeopardy music. Okay. Patience. Happy Friday. Okay.
Weird, it's running like that today. It wasn't doing that the other day.
And I don't have much open, so try to let it.
I don't think it's you.
There we go. Okay. So now you can see it has started this file, and up here, details, step 1 of 5. So there's this, we're in the wizard, and it's going to go through all the detail. In here, you're just going to double check things. You know, this is all information coming in from the listing. So as a buyer, you're a buyer's agent, you're going to write a contract. It's not like a listing where you're going to double check this information. It's what you're purchasing. So if you hit next, you're just looking at the stuff. You can actually put in now, if you wanted to put the dates in here. I'm not going to put any of this in at this point because I'm going to wait till I get to the form. So when I go into the purchase contract and I'm typing up the offer, it's going to automatically fill in some of this stuff. So I'm just going to show you what is in here as far as the steps in Wizard. So you can see it pulled in the listing agent, it pulled in the broker, it pulled in the seller's name, it pulled me in, and it has me as the broker or the brokerage. And then step 4, all those forms in my template are now here, so I don't have to go find them. And maybe I know, oh, this one doesn't have a lead base. I don't need a lead on this one. So maybe I delete it, and this little snowman, you can always click here and you can delete, edit, download, preview. So you always have options within here. And then next, documents. Now, this I'm going to go back and forth a little bit and I'm going to repeat myself. So documents in here, you'll see these ones I had put into my template, but these were the ones that were coming in from the listing. So look, the lead-based paint from the listing is already in here. So perfect. I don't need now this one in forms because this one is one that I had in there for my template. So documents, I want to make that clear. Documents are the foreign that got imported, okay? Forms are what you are about to fill out, what you created. So this one, I don't want to have a duplicate. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one out now because I know that I already got the lead-based paint from the listing right here. So now pretty much I've gone through, see everything's good in here. I don't need to delete anything. Now at this point, I've never worked with this buyer. I'm going to want to add them. So I'm going to go to contacts. Click. And I'm going to see there's all these contacts of the transaction, but my buyer's not there. So now I'm going to hit add. And this is a new one because they're not in here yet. So I'm going to create a new contact. So this is a buyer, and I'm going to put it's Johnny, and he has good game. And his email, I'm going to use my email and act like it's his email, okay? So this is a fake, and you can practice this, by the way. You all can do a fake transaction and do this so you know how to do it, and I would recommend that. So as I did this contact, I put in this fake person. I put first name, last name, email, and then you'll see this box down here, add to address book. This means it's going to go to the address book over here, the universal kind of address book within Transaction Desk. So I want this checked because maybe I know this is the first property and he's kind of qualified for 200. I shouldn't say kind of, he qualified for 200, but it's going to be tough to find him a property. So I might be writing maybe 3 contracts for him. So I definitely want his information in here so I don't have to fill it out again. You'll see there's legal name, preferred signature, preferred initial, and that I think Susan explains very well. I don't know if you want to chime in, because preferred signature could be your a signer on for someone. You're a trustee for someone. So this is the legal name of the owner or the purchaser, and then the preferred signature might be Johnny Good Game, signer for such and such trust LLC, you know. So keep in mind, so if you have anything like that, you should probably call the broker and make sure that you're using appropriate verbiage if you have people who are signing for others. In the address, I'm really not going to fill this out because I'm working with a buyer, and I could fill it all out, but at this point, I know I want to get this offer in, and I just want to get going and submit it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. So now I've got my buyer in here. So that's really all I need to do in contacts. I added my buyer. So now I'm going to go into forms, and I'm going to fill out that purchase contract. So I went to forms. Oh, question.
Yes, question. Rob Ryan has a question.
Okay.
If the listing has an HOA addendum in the documents tab, and that document is downloaded into Transaction Desk, can we update that document and have our clients sign it? And then Rob, are you talking about your sellers? Have it updated and then have your sellers sign it, or are you referring to, I'm guessing you mean the buyers? I think he's talking about buyers.
So does he mean, okay,
But
you get,
he does mean buyers.
okay, so you have the HOA document, and in the listing, it should have just page 1 filled out, okay? Because the lister is supposed to, the seller is only supposed to be filling out and disclosing fees that they know of, right? So they're filling out page 1. Page 2 is kind of just disclosure, I guess. Page 2 is telling the buyer what to expect, what their rights are, what to look for. And page 3, you should be able to fill out as a buyer's agent, right? So in this one, I don't think there is. Let me just double check. Yeah. So let's say in this one, in documents, it would have put it right into documents. So if that HOA document was in MLS documents, it would have come in through here into these documents. Just like this, they had a home warranty and they had a lead-based paint. So they had all these items came in from MLS. So yes, so you can then update it, or when you say update, you can fill out page 3 from here. So I'm not sure if that's what you mean as update, but we will get to that, and I'll use an example more of this lead-based paint we're going to be filling out. So I'm going to go back to forms, and I'm not going to fill out all of these. We won't have time. So I'm going to focus on the purchase contract. So if I go into the purchase contract, and it's thinking, there we go. I'm going to make my screen a little, there we go, so you can see it better. So now I'm in the purchase contract, and I want you to see these icons up here. Whenever you're in a form, you have additional icons and functions in here. Almost every screen you have in Transaction Desk, you can go to a signing, you can edit. There's a lot of stuff you can do to each screen. So just try to remember what you're doing. Right now, we're going to focus on filling out the purchase contract. So you'll see it already filled in the stuff it imported from MLS. So I have my buyer, Johnny, OfferPad is the seller, and they already put this information in here. And I'm just going to create, okay, it's $250, and earnest money is 1,000. So purchase price is $250. Earnest money is 1,000. And then I'm going to say that I'm going to make this simple, and I'm not going to do like an FHA or anything. I'm just going to do a conventional, and let's say they are going to put 9,000 for additional monies at this. So this is they're putting a total of 1,000 for earnest, 9 for additional money. So they're putting 10,000 down, and they're going to finance 240. Too many zeros. Okay, and then I'm going to put conventional. Financing. And that's all I'm going to put here. Earnest money, it's going to be other, and maybe it's a cashier's check, or let's just put money order. So as you fill this out, you're going to have all this stuff, and then you're going to put the date. So there's a little calendar icon, and I can say, okay, I know that these people are, my buyers want to close, and it's going to be the 19th. It's a Friday. So this is just like you would fill out any old form, whether it was hand done or in zip forms. You're filling all this stuff out. I know that there's a lead-based paint, so I'm going to check that. So as we go through all this, we're going to put, there's a refrigerator. We're going to go through all this. Conventional. And you could put in your title company here. So you do have the ability to, if you wanted to, you could put into the contacts when we put in the buyer, you could actually add your escrow officer and stuff there. I just like to fill it out here. And if I had already put it in here, let's see if she's in here. Let's just say American title. And then I put in an address. So let's say we fill all this out, all this going on. And I want to get to the very last page. Oh, I could show this. So let's say I had, and this is a little advanced, but it's something that if for some of you that don't need the basics, right now in additional terms, I thought, oh, there's a clause I want to use. Right up here, this little icon, I can click on it and I can go to my personal clauses and I can go, oh, I'm going to put an escalation clause right in there. And then it pops in here and I can fill it out with, you know, seller by that, you know, offer of 500 with a maximum of, let's say, 255. So you can do things like that. There is a different place to put in your clauses within the settings, but when you put those in there, that's how you would use them, is right here. You hit clause, and if you have them in there, you just pop them in. So maybe you work with, maybe you have a certain investor and they always have a certain thing they need in their contract. You could already have it pre-filled out in your clauses and just add it right there. So that's kind of a little advanced, but at least you know what that means and why there's clauses. You have to add your clauses in here through settings, and then they will appear here. Also, some people were saying about like the fonts or the lines didn't look, because you can see 344 isn't quite in line as you're typing, but when you print it off, it looks okay. But if you needed to change, you can change your font. You can change the size of your font. Okay, so maybe you know you're working with someone who's elderly and you want it bigger, you can do that. So just know there are some options in here that in other programs were not available. Okay, so I'm going to keep going, and now I'm coming to that last page where it had already put me in here. So I really don't need to add anything. It put my license number, the broker number, so everything's in here. And I'm just going to click buyer. And then my buyer, I only really want his name here. And then we're going to add a signature would be later. And you'll see that the other agent is in here, and I'm going to mark seller. Okay, so now I've got that whole purchase contract filled out, and I'm going to hit X to get out. Now, let's say you wanted to send this contract. Your buyer is from a state where they use attorneys to write contracts, and they're nervous. So maybe you want to send this over to that person. There's a couple ways you can do it. You could hit watermark and put confidential, and then that watermark of confidential is going to go across this and then send this out. So now you can see that there's confidential watermarked on here. You could also, and I'm going to take that back off, you just go back here and re-click on it. So from here, you can see, you can email this form because I'm in this form. You can print this form if you wanted. You could save it as a PDF. I'm just going to exit at this point. Okay. Now, the other way you could send it if you have another person who wants to review it is within the signing, but we'll address that in a later when we do a webinar that's specific to signing. So then I want to also opening up the agency, and you'll see that most of the stuff is already filled out because we already added in the beginning, we looked at contacts and we added our buyer, and I was already added in there. And it's going to appear in 2 seconds. Come on. There we go. So buyers here, and my information auto-populated because I was already in on the contact. And in my template, I had already checked these boxes, so I don't even need to check these boxes. It's already done. Again, you have all these options up here again if you needed to, and I can just go, always know that you can exit to get out. So at this point, we could go to a signing, and I just want to go to show you, I'm not going to go through an entire signing, but what I want to show you is how I can have forms and documents being sent out at the same time. So there's a signing icon over here. That's not within here. Remember, right-hand side here, I'm inside that file folder. Over here, these icons are for the program and not specific to this file. So I need to use the signing over here. So when I hit signing,
Please wait.
there's nothing there because I haven't started one. So now I'm going to plus and add one. And I'm going to say this is Johnny. Where's my, there it goes. Johnny. And this is the offer on, is it Zoa? What is this called? Zoa. Where is my mouse? There we go. Okay, so that is my signing name because I know this is the one he's going to put an offer on in this address. And if I'm going too fast or too slow, someone say something. I'm just trying to walk you guys through from going to your template, having it set up, and then actually from MLS, hitting transaction, just creating a file, writing up all the forms, and getting to this point. So at this point in the signing, I have there's step 1, 2, 3, and 4. So within these steps, there's options. So one thing that I know that has come up commonly or a question is under step 1, under advanced, this hide signature key on signed documents. This is one that I think gets confusing. If you have, you should have it on off, not on, because when you get it back, it has like this highlight where you can't see this initial or the signature. So just know that that's where you find that to take that off. I had a few people send me, a screenshot of their contract, and they had a yellow thing right over their initial. So this signature key, you can take that off here. Okay, I just wanted to show that. I'm not going to go into these. We'll go that's in another signing, more advanced detail. So we have, this is just a signing name of the signing. That's not the person. This is the signing name of the signing we're doing. Step 2, we're going to go to participants. And on this participant, I want to show you that I have Johnny here as the buyer, yes, and he is a remote signer. Then there's in-person signer, reviewer, and CC. I was saying earlier that if you needed to go present something to an attorney or someone else, you could add them as reviewer, and they can, if they're a reviewer, they have to accept, or I think it says decline. So if they accept it, they're saying it looks good. Now, if you want to just copy them on it where they don't accept or decline, that's the CC. So in-person signer would also be, maybe you have one person who's signing remote, and once you get it back, like you have wife in front of you, so you're going to hit in-person signer for her, and she's going to sign on like your iPad, for instance. So she's signing on your screen in person with you. So she doesn't have to log in. She can just go ahead and sign with you. Remote signer means you emailed it out and they're in Washington and they are signing it, e-signing it that from Washington. Now I know that on this file, there's a lead-based paint, and I, as a buyer's agent, need to sign that too. So I'm going to add myself, and I'm going to put remote signer because I know that there's a place for me to sign on here. So I'm adding myself and I'm adding Johnny. So add them, And now you'll see both of these are in and we're all good. And then we're going to get to documents. Did it not click? There we go. Let's pause for a second. There we go. Okay, so why I wanted to show you this is you'll see DocBox and Instanet Forms. So at this point, this is where you're going to be able to see, okay, I've got this lead-based paint that I have to sign. And I know that I filled out the agency and purchase contract. And maybe let's just say this is just for testing and presenting purposes. These are all the forms I need at this moment. Okay, so I'm going to add, and you'll see that I did get that DocBox, and I didn't upload, download. It just got in here, and it's so nice. And if you needed to add additional forms, I'll show you that in just a second. So let's say I went, oh, I got all these. Oh, here, it popped up. So buyer 1 is Johnny. I don't have these. I don't need these other ones, so I can say save. Okay. I'm going to give it a second. Okay, so maybe at this point I go, oh my gosh, I just got another form and I forgot to upload it. You can still add it at this point. You can just go to add documents, and now you could do it from your forms from that file, or maybe you upload a file that you have up on your computer that maybe the agent sent you something like the insurance and you want them to initial the claims history. So you can upload it here after the fact that you've already started the signing. You can't do it after you've sent it out though. Okay, so I'm still within the signing. I haven't sent it, but I want to add more files. So no, there's a lot of options in here. Okay. So you'll see at this point that these have yellow and red. That means that signers have been, the signing blocks have been already put in here. This one, remember, is that DocBox, and it came from MLS. So it is considered foreign. So they don't know where to put the signature blocks. That's okay. So at this point, I'm just making sure these are the forms I want. And now I'm going to go to step four, where we're going to actually put in the signature blocks. Now, most of them, because we created like the purchase contract, it's already going to be there. And note, it's going to add, like for the lead-based paint, you're going to have to delete one or the other. It either needs the lead-based paint or it doesn't. The program cannot possibly know what year something was built. So you will always have to delete one of them out.
It's running slow today, isn't it?
Yes, and I've been on my computer a lot, and it
don't think
hasn't been
it's
like
you.
this. Like,
Sometimes the program just gets bogged. I've seen this happen a couple times. Used to happen with zip forms too, so.
come on. Loading.
Hey, Veronica, do you know the answer to this question? Lynn is asking, oops, where'd she go? Sorry. Now I lost the question. There we go. Can we duplicate already signed signing session? We needed to add another signature or initial. Can we duplicate an already signed?
Well, duplicate, well, you can copy, or I think it would be better to go, okay, I missed an initial and it was only on one page. You can actually take that one page and go get it sent out. So yes, there is a way to do that. But if you just copy the whole thing again, it really depends on what specifically you're meaning, but you can already have something signed and send it back out, of course, because you can send something that was signed, faxed to you, you can scan it, get it uploaded in here and go get it signed. So yes, you can absolutely do that. But when you say duplicate, I'm not sure exactly, because there's an option to copy. But like I said, I don't know if you want to copy the entire, if it's a purchase contract, the entire thing when you have one page that needs one little initial.
Right.
So now that I've in step 4, now I can see the forms, and I'm going to scroll down, and this is good to go. Signing is, the buyer's signature block is here, the date is here. Let's say it wasn't. Let's say I click over here and I delete it. Oh, now what? Okay, so over here is drag and drop. It says drag and drop, but you need to click on it first. So we're going to click, then it opens it up. Now, a lot of people have asked me, again, they get confused with the options in here. So they thought signer name meant signature. It's not. Sign here is the signature block you want to use. Signer name is just the name. So red means you're sending this out and your client is required to sign it. The green is giving you an option. My opinion is that I've already discussed this offer with my client. And at this point, for me to go get it signed, there is no more option. We have already discussed all the terms. I am just getting signatures. So I'm going to click and drag this down. Hold on. Now this is a perfect example. I put myself on this, but Johnny's also here. And look, this is Veronica. So I need to delete this and choose Johnny. So now I've got Johnny. Now I can click and drag. And now I've got Johnny in here. And I don't see the date. So within this signature block, I can hit the settings right here, and I can add a date stamp. So now I have the date and the signature block. So we're all good on this. All the check boxes are checked, so we're all good. Now, again, most of this stuff I'm not going to go into because we're going a little further, but I just wanted to show you with having that foreign document, the lead-based paint, and how it comes into play. It's so efficient, as I don't have to download, upload, email it to me, upload it to my computer. It went right into this file because I imported it from MLS. So now I'm going to scroll down, and I didn't take off the confidential, but anyway, these initials are here where they should be. And on page, here we go, where are we at? Here's the page for the lead-based paint. This is what I was saying, is you have to delete one of these out. So if premises were constructed prior to or 78 or later. Now I know this one was in 78 or later. I'm sorry, prior to 78, because it has a lead-based paint. So I'm going to click on this one and just delete it out, because I don't want that's going to come back and the broker's going to say, fix this. Okay. So line 181 is the correct one, and I removed the one on 182. So this is the only one that gets duplicated on a regular purchase contract, but you should always review this and make sure they are where they should be. Okay. So now you've got all of these in here, and your signature for the last page of the contract's in there. And now here's that lead-based paint. There's no signatures on it, so I have to add it. So I can go to myself, to Veronica, and I'm going to hit click and drag. And down here, it says that the cooperating agent is signing. So I'm going to add my signature here, and I'm going to add that date. Then I'm also going to add my initial. If I move this around, you can see is right there under cooperating agent. Now I'm going to move back to Johnny, and I'm going to add him. And he has some initials. And I'm going to put over here, I know there's several. So as you get used to the mouse, or if you have a laptop, your pad, and moving this around, it does take a minute to get used to this, to be moving these around. and I still have to check something over here, right? So I'm going to use this checkbox here and do that. So now my lead-based paint is completed. Seller has initials and those checkboxes are done. Mine has a checkbox, my initials are there, buyer's signature, everybody, this is a good one. So now we're good. So now the next step would be actually sending it out. Once you get to this page, you could customize it, send an email. I'd like to send the invitation and then actually call or text my client and say, I just sent it to you. Please review, let me know if you have any questions. Once they get their email, they get an email, and in their email, it has a big giant pen in the middle, like they can't miss it. They click there, they start the signing process, and when they get complete, you get a copy of the signed documents. At the end, they also get a pop-up window like this, and at the bottom here, it says, do you want a password or no thanks? I recommend telling your clients to say no thanks, because who needs another password, right? So I'm just going to close this. I'm not actually going to send this out. But that was actually walking within a few minutes here. We went from MLS, typing up the forms in the contract, sending it out to get signed, and we got the lead-based paint in, we got all the extras that were in the document tab in MLS. So is there any questions or anything I should go back over that someone did not, did I go too fast? I went through the whole process of from templates. So you've got to set those templates up first to be able to function in here.
Veronica, when you first create a transaction, when you first are opening one, if you don't use the wizard, because opting to use the wizard makes it easier because you have that whole navigation list on your right-hand side. If you don't use the wizard, if you opt not to use the wizard, you don't get that navigation list on the right, because that's what gives you the ability to, that's what the wizard is actually. So the question came up of, if you don't, similar to this, if you don't opt for a wizard,
I'll show you.
How do you navigate within the transaction?
I'll show you. So look, I went quickly as I heard you talking. I went to MLS and I grabbed a different MLS number. And this one doesn't have documents. Okay. So I'm going to create another buyer. Buyer test, no wizard. So you can all see if I could. Okay. And template, still going to be my buyer, and import MLS. And now I have that MLS number and it's buyer's agent, and I'm going to hit not to use the wizard. Okay. So here we go. Let's see what happens. You do still get a menu on the right side. You just don't have to walk through those screens. And that's my personal opinion, is I don't want to necessarily go through the wizard. Maybe I just want to get right to the contract and write it up, because I don't want to check everything. I already know that it's importing, and I need to work fast. So I didn't choose wizard on this one. And you'll see I can go right into forms and go right into the purchase contract and start. So it doesn't take away your right-hand side. The wizard doesn't take away that right-hand side menu.
No, if you don't use the wizard, if you opt to not use the wizard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It does not, the wizard does not take away the right-hand side. I just opened a purchase okay, there we go. So I created this one without the wizard. It's thinking. It doesn't, this menu over here, it comes with every file with or without a wizard. So the wizard is not related to your icons on the right-hand side. So these icons are not part of the wizard. It just did those steps 1 through 5, I don't have now. I just went right into your dashboard. is where it goes. Does that answer that? Because it didn't take away the wizard's still here. I just didn't go through those 1 through 5 steps where it said next, next, next. So it basically opens you up at the dashboard. So I can do it again. I'll make another one here. So I can go add. And let's say this was, come on. I'm just going to test 2. And template, I'm putting buyer, import, MLS. And again, I have that number already in there. And I'm not going to use wizard, okay, but I still in the buyer's agent. So no wizard is checked. So when I hit this, you'll see on the screen again, it just takes away the 1 through 5 wizard step. And it took me basically to the dashboard. So instead of starting here, it started me here.
Mm-hmm. So, who's asked this? Brandy wants to know. So she's got that down. But when she opens a form, the navigation button goes away. All those choices on the right go away. So when she's done with that particular form, she doesn't know how to get back to the transaction dashboard without going out and coming back in.
Okay, so if you're at my screen right now, let's go into a form. We're in a form. If you're in a file, a specific file, like we're in this test 2 file.
Yep.
I'm in forms. I'm going to pick something that's easier, an agency. I think less pages, quicker to open. So now I'm opening.
Your question much quicker if this thing went.
So now I'm in this agency form, and if I hit exit, it will take me back to that file dashboard. It shouldn't take you, and then I'll show you on the screen here. It's like ready to pop up. And I don't know how much of a delay from my computer to yours is happening.
I think it's pretty instant for the most part.
Okay. So now you're in this form, you're typing it up, right? You typed it up. And if you hit here on this file, this is where you exit out. This file folder, you go to this exit. And when I hit exit, it will bring me back to this dashboard. So I don't know if that helped, but that is if you're within that form and you're inside a file, once you exit, you're going to go right back. Now, if you were in a form over here, you're not inside a file. You're in a generic form that's not attached to any file. Remember, right-hand side, you're inside a file. And I like to say this is like your filing cabinet over here, and you have to pull a file out to get to here. Okay. So if you can create what's really nice about this program is, let's say you don't need to create a file, you just have a counter. You're in the middle of counter 3 and you just want it signed and everything's already good to go because you got the counter from the listing agent, and now you just want your buyer to sign it, everything's agreed to. You could, instead of just opening that transaction and going through that file, you could just go to the signing over here and just do a one-off signing. You don't have to have a signing and a file setup to do a signing. So that's another question of how come I have to, you don't have to set up a full file. You can just do a one form page, go get it signed. Any other questions or things to go over? There's a couple extras, but I don't want to throw too much detail here. Like this little envelope up here, for those who will get this, I'm just going to state it. If you use this envelope, every single file that you create has its own unique email address. So when I click on this envelope, and you'll see this big long email, this email address is specific to this file. So if I was to mouse over, copy, and paste that, and go back to my email and forward. So let's say the listing agent didn't have time or didn't get it back from their client, the lead-based paint, the HOA, all this stuff. So it wasn't in MLS, so I couldn't have imported it. And he emailed it to me.
So now I have all these foreign documents. I want in here, you could download, upload, whatever, but this is much easier. Is I could go to my email, go to that, where the listing agent sent me that email with all those documents in it, forward to this address, and it will import just like it did with MLS. So it will import all those documents into documents. Okay, so that's a really easy thing, as well as it lessens the upload download issue. You can do a lot from just emailing. And I can't see the question, so if there's any more.
So there's one more from Rob Ryan, and I'm going to answer it because it's definitely a broker question.
Okay.
So he asks if you, and I think he means you, are willing to share a Word document that has all your clauses. That would be helpful. I think West USA should have at least a set of clauses that they recommend their agents use when needed. So that's more of I hate the word, liability question. The clauses we recommend you use are the ones written by the attorneys at AAR. We as a company don't necessarily create a bunch of clauses that we want you to use because there's too many scenarios. There's literally a billion different scenarios of different kinds of clauses. So that's not something like we can do. I think on our A forms, there is a document where Bob has some clause suggestions. Is that still on there, Veronica?
I believe it is. And he has a link to his clauses that is actually, now understand, it is on his site. It's not our West USA site. Okay. But those same excuse me, same clauses are there. There are some clauses that are pretty, the thing of and Susan, you will understand, obviously being the broker, that if someone doesn't understand the clause and they're using it in the wrong way, that's where just always double check. Hey, broker, can I use this clause? Is it good? Get the okay. Why not get the okay? So if you do have a clause and you think it's a good clause, just why not have a broker review it before you go send it? It's always easier to fix something before it's sent in contract world than to send it out and go, I can't help you. It's already signed and written. So it's better to get the okay before sending something like that out.
Right. You know, we try to discourage as much as possible. I mean, sometimes you have to create your own verbiage on page 8, right? You have to. But we ask that you don't if you don't have to, because, you know, I'm not an attorney and I'm pretty good at writing stuff and I don't write them that well. It's just everything that's pre-written by AAR and of course your ER and such is written by and vetted through that process. So that's where it comes. And Veronica's right. Call or, you know, email us, and maybe we'll say, well, maybe this is a better way. And we'll look at it from the receiving end and say, okay, well, this is what it says to me. So we're willing to vet that out with you anytime.
And I am really impressed in how quick those broker questions are answered. So if you're in the middle of something and you say, hey, I have a counter and this is time sensitive, the broker staff is really fast on getting back. I mean, I've sent an email off, and before I've even moved on to my next email, Dean's already responded to somebody. I'm like, well, that was fast. So there's no reason to not get that final okay. Why not?
Yeah, and we will always do our very best to get right back to you. Yes, occasionally there's times where it might take an hour or so, but honestly, 90% of the time we're going to get you like that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You just, you know, that's what we're here for.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to let everybody know that we're going to do a full length class with the whole enchilada next week.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot to play in here. I highly recommend going in here, have fun, do a fake contract. Then you know what you don't know. Then you know, oh, now I have a question at this point. We don't know what you don't know. And everybody's at every level of technology skill. So feel free to reach out to us. You can always find us, email, call us. We're here to support your business. So happy Friday.
Yeah. And a couple people asked if this is available recorded. It is, but I don't know where. Do you?
YouTube.
YouTube.
If you go to West USA Realty, Tatum has posted this stuff on YouTube. And all our webinars on there. It's a great source. So maybe you should even Google, if you go to the YouTube page for AAR, they have lots of videos, and it has brokers talking about specific topics. So since we're quarantined, why not go watch some of those videos? You could be making your, lunch and be watching and listening to a YouTube, whether it's a West USA, AAR. There's a lot of resources out there.
Yes, and ladies, I actually have the it's youtube.com/West USA Realty. That's where you can find all of our videos that we post. And then, of course, I do post it on the closed Facebook group pages as well.
Thanks, Tatum. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Hopefully we'll see some of you guys. We'll see. Some of you will be back with us next week, and have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye.